What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Lift Your Monday. I'm very happy you guys decided to tune in this week. We're back. I have Anthony Cloyd here with me today. He is a guy who went to school here at Hastings College with me. He's on to med school. He's doing big, huge things, and I'm very excited for you guys to hear, his views of success and what drives him. He is on an awesome path to doing amazing things. So really cool with that. Other than that, no big news. I'm just out here trying to just give you guys the best content I can. We're going to stick to those 3 questions, all about drive, success, and I'm really excited that you guys decided to tune in. I hope you guys get something out of this. I hope you guys are sharing this. Make sure you subscribe. Very important that you subscribe to Lift Your Monday, because that helps us get the podcast out there. It's the easiest thing you do. It doesn't even require you to do anything else. Just literally just hit a subscribe button. That would be amazing. Thank you. If you're tuning in on YouTube, thank you. If you're tuning on Spotify, thank you. If you're tuning on Apple Podcasts, thank you. If you want to subscribe on all 3, that'd be amazing. So please, please, please go subscribe, share it, find a friend that needs a little lift on their Monday. Give them the juice. Let them know. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy. Without further ado, Anthony Cloyd. Welcome back to Lift Your Monday. I'm your host, Hayden Jones, and I'm very happy you decided to tune in this week. Took a week off, and now we're back, and we're sticking with that format, the 3 questions, really diving into success and drive and what fuels different people. And today I have a special guest on. His name is Anthony Cloyd. He played football here at Hastings College, and now he is on his way to becoming a doctor over at Brown University. Brown University, right?
Yep.
Brown University, which is not an easy school to get into. It's very, very impressive. So I'll let him talk about himself for a little minute. But without further ado, Anthony Cloyd.
Yeah. First, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Glad I can finally be a part of this
Definitely
podcast. Very fortunate. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. Played football, baseball. I wrestled in high school. Ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to play quarterback in college somewhere. I didn't care where. So brought me to little Hastings, Nebraska. Was fortunate enough to finally get to live out that dream. Then went on to, like you said, applied to medical school. Got into Brown University. So again, first time out of Nebraska. It's been a big life adjustment for me, but learning lots, meeting lots of new people. So again, very fortunate.
And so where is Brown University?
In Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island.
Very small
state.
So is it a big culture shock coming from Nebraska to Rhode Island, East Coast?
The biggest thing I can describe it as is like here in Nebraska, like people are passive aggressive, but up in the Northeast, it's like people just tell you how they feel. Like if you especially like the grocery stores are different too. Like everyone's just on a mission, like no eye contact, no nothing, no excuse me, no like. It's just like everyone is just there to get what they need and get done. But obviously they're like nice once you warm up to the general population.
Yeah.
But Brown itself though is amazing. Like it reminds me a lot of Nebraska, that close-knit community. So what's
the food like on the East Coast?
A lot better seafood.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get more into that, but it's actually Providence is a really big food town. I need to get out, and it's that fine balance of spending money and like trying to cook for yourself.
Definitely.
But, it's cool, man.
That's awesome.
Nice
what's been like the biggest like shock of medical school that you kind of didn't?
Well, first, like my classmates are just like ridiculously impressive. It's just like I'm talking to them and just hearing where they come from, like the things that they did before medical school. It's just like wow, and like just being surrounded by that group of people is like truly just like amazing. And I think probably the biggest thing is like everyone tells you that like med school is like drinking water out of a fire hose. Like the concept of drinking water is not hard. Like what we're learning isn't hard material. It's just like the rate at which it comes at you is like what's difficult. And that's so true. So like I don't think you can prepare yourself for that until you're actually immersed into it. But yeah.
So like being around, like you were saying, like such bright individuals. Are there times where you feel like you're not up to the standard like they are, or but then you have to like constantly remind yourself like I'm here? Like, does that happen? Or
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's literally like a daily battle for me. Especially just because like, but what I've come to find is that everyone, it's called imposter syndrome. It's like
yeah,
everyone feels like they don't belong. Like you look around and you think everyone has their stuff together around you. Um, but like it's kind of reassuring, like everyone feels that way. Like, but especially for me, like I'm like, oh, hi, what's your name? Like, oh, I'm Anthony. Like I went to this school in Nebraska. Like, where'd you go? They're like, oh, I went to Harvard for undergrad. I got my MPH at Yale and now I'm here. I'm just like, okay, well, like, I came straight through. I'm from, so it's just like every day I'm just like, dang, do I really belong here? But then also it's like, now I'm using that as my fuel.
definitely.
It's like, yo, like I came from Nebraska. Like I'm definitely like, and I'm here, I'm doing well. Like I'm succeeding in these classes, like doing better than most of my peers. And so it's just like,
has there been like a definitive moment that's happened so far where you're like, yeah, I belong here?
I think
that you can think off the top of your head, kind of put you on the spot.
I think that first exam is like, you're not really sure how you're going to measure up. And like, they give you the standard deviations and the means of like the exam score. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you stand. We don't have a class ranks or anything like that. But that first or second exam, I was like, okay, like I'm fine. Like I can do this. Like here's the average score from the exam and I'm like right here. So like, like, all right, like this
good.
So
that's cool.
But yeah, it's cool. Good thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I bet. So for kind of first question, going off of what we just talked about, kind of went off the path a little bit, but like what or who has had like the most impact in your life and why? Like what's gotten you to where you are and who or what is that?
Yeah, I think the answer for this question for me is threefold. So one, obviously like my parents, have always been there, supporting me. Love my mom to death. Like, but I think when I think about who I really am trying to impress is my dad. And he's always been that strong father, male role that I've needed in my life. My mom's always been there too. So like, don't get it twisted. But like, and I think I want him to be proud of me. And so I think he's been there for me, pushing me to get me where I am now. They make sacrifices to help me get to where I want to be, live out my dreams. Second, it's probably a tie between Coach Wells and one of my professors, Dr. Keen. And so both of them, they got me to actually believe in myself and stop doing just enough to get by. Like before that, I was like, my mindset was like just enough to like, I just got to get study this much just to get the A. Like I don't need to go anything above that. Or like same thing in sports, like in wrestling, I'd be like, okay, how fast can I pin this kid? Like I'm not trying to spend too much energy. And so they actually got me to start thinking like, pushing myself to be my best, like challenging myself. And like Dr. Keen, like stopped me after class one day. He's just like, hey, like you took this exam, like, and you were dealt this hand of cards. Like I think you should do something with it. Like before that, I was just dead set on going to UNMC, staying in Nebraska. Like, not that UNMC is a bad school, like a phenomenal school, but, and he's the one who kind of convinced me to like step outside that comfort zone, like see how far I can really take this thing. And I'm so glad that both of them have helped get me to where I am. And I use Coach Wells, like, and you Gaga and your mindset, like that's what gets me through med school. That's awesome. So, and then the third thing is honestly just like I said, like you guys, like all my teammates and my friends, like after practice, like you guys are just joking around, like, oh yeah, Dr. Cloyd, what's up, man? Like you guys gonna take care of me when you're a doctor someday? And like, it seems like a joke, but like low key, that like kept me going. Some of those dark times, like I'm telling all these people I'm going through that. Like I better do something, make sure that happens. So that's probably in a nutshell, those most influential people.
That's awesome. And so like, I know, you, me, and Trav all stay in touch, but do you ever talk to like Dr. Keen? Is Dr. Keen? Yeah, Dr. Keen and Coach Wells still?
Every now and then, yeah. Not to say that I didn't have any other advisors that were influential. Like obviously all my advisors in my time here were great, but I'll stay in touch. I'll send them emails every now and then. I'll talk to Coach Wells on the phone every so often, or if I hear something cool, I might shoot him an email. But yeah, I think it's important to never forget where you came from. And I think especially coming from Nebraska, something I try to, whether it's peers or professors, something I try, and that's partly why I'm coming back over here over my spring break. So
definitely. So trying to, it's not necessarily impressing these people, but live up to, you know, what you think these people think you should be. And, you know, trying to show that, you know, they were right in believing in you to a point. What do you believe success is? Like, what is your definition of success, and what does it mean to you, or how is it achieved in your eyes or mindset?
This is something I was thinking about as I was listening to some other podcasts, like as you've been asking this question to other people, and Gaga sent me this video, and I forget the guy's name, but he was asked the same question, and he defined it as, I think, like the constant pursuit of something you love. And I was like, yeah, like I like that. I think I'm going to make that my definition. And so like what that looks like for me is like going on this journey through medicine is like, you know, obviously we're not gonna be able to cure every single thing. There's always something to do. And taking that 1% mindset that you're talking about, like what I love, like I want to take that 1% mindset and turn it into a 1%, you know, like getting 1% better. I'm trying to make one person better each day. And so like, whether that's, you know, spending 5 extra minutes listening to a little news, like health news or something, or like spending 5 minutes reading an article about something, like trying to get one person better. Maybe I could save that one person, make a more accurate diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? So
definitely.
Like, that's kind of how I see this playing out. And I can talk to you more about what like fuels me in my idea of what success means to me in a little bit later. But I'd say that constant pursuit of something, because you know you're not ever gonna actually accomplish that thing. You know, you're always gonna be working towards something. So I think, yeah.
So have you always wanted to help people? Like, has that always been like your idea of what you wanted to do in life?
Right. And so yeah, definitely. I always, ever since I was in middle school is when I decided I wanted to be a doctor. And so it's actually a funny story, but it sounds a little sadistic, but like, just bear with me. So it started off like I was just fascinated by like watching people break their bones on YouTube, like freak sports injuries. And then I quickly realized that none of my friends shared this same love for broken bones. And I was like, dang, all right, I should probably do something with this. Like, I need an excuse. I'm going to be a doctor. And so that was just like, okay, like that's my excuse. Oh yeah, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. So that's why I like this stuff. And so, but like, as I got older, I learned more and more about what being a doctor is actually about. And so that's obviously changed, but yeah, definitely known I've wanted to do something helping people. So
yeah, I was the opposite. I was the one breaking the bones. So that's what got me into like wanting to help people, because I thought I wanted to be a PT because I spent so much time with the PT. But then, you know, old people aren't my like sitch. So, you know, I had to switch. But like you were saying, you know, your drive and kind of what fuels your success, you know, going through med school obviously is not easy. And I honestly can't fathom what it's like, but like what drives you to constantly, you know, keep going through that? And especially being literally on the other side of the country, you know, what fuels you, what drives you, what gets you up in the morning? What is your thing that, you know, pushes you to be your version of success?
Yeah, that's let me step on my soapbox real quick, but it's so many things. But first, like I told you, it started off with broken bones, and then I did an internship in college in the summer, designed to help increase matriculation rates for underrepresented students. So like increasing the acceptance rates into medical school, matriculation rates. And we learned about health disparities. And so that's like differences that exist between populations. So like a lot of times, like, and specifically African-Americans, the health disparities that exist, like we usually get diseases like sooner, or the disease is like worse, or like we just have way worse outcomes, and like basically every disease you can think of. And so that didn't sit right with me. I was just like, okay, like I need to do something about this. And so that's kind of what like sparked this fire. And secondly, that program got me to realize, like, I was looking around in the community. I was like, wait, there aren't very many doctors that look like me, or like, you know, like even looking at the, you know, those posters on the walls in the doctor's office that have all the pictures of the physicians at that place. Like, it's like, there's no like Black doctors here. Like, and so I was like, well, what kind of message does that send like younger African-American kids, like growing up? And obviously Omaha, Nebraska may not be the most representative sample for like where African-American physicians lie. But still, you know, that sends a powerful, subtle message to all these kids that go to the doctor but don't see anyone like them. You know, they think that being a doctor is something that they can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so those two things are like what's now fueling me. And so I think like what I want to do with my career is like, obviously I want to use my status as a physician to help inspire younger minorities to, you know, kind of pursue, because like right now the US population is like 15% African-American, I think, double check me on, I don't know. But only like 6% of doctors are Black. And so that discrepancy there's a lot of societal factors that are causing this. And so like that on top of these worse health outcomes for all these minorities and lower socioeconomic status individuals is just like I need to do, that's what that fire is for me. And so like we're talking about increasing matriculation rates, like specifically for like Black men. I think right now only 12% of people getting accepted to medical school are Black, and 2/3 of those people are women, which is amazing. But like 1/3 of the people getting accepted that are African-American are only men. Like what are happening to those Black men that,
mm-hmm.
how are they falling through the cracks? And so those are the things I kind of want to address with this lifestyle I'm choosing. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
So do you plan on doing anything with that? Like while you're at Brown, have you put anything in like in order to go with that? Or, you know, what is your plan to kind of make that a known thing so people know like, hey, this is a problem, we need to change it?
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of opportunities right now. At least as a med student, you're somewhat limited, but I've gone and talked to the undergrad kids at Brown. There's a Black pre-med students club. There's a group on campus. It's called SNMA. It's about underrepresented students in medicine. It's I think all throughout most medical schools now. So I go to the events held by them, help them out. And so like I've signed up to be a mentor online where like I put up my little profile and like,
mm-hmm.
If kids seem interested, they can like email me or something. And so like, but I think just having conversations about stuff like this or seeking out, you know, opportunity. Yeah. It's like, I'm somewhat limited as a medical student right now, but as I move forward in my practice, like I want to obviously serve in an area with somewhat represented like minorities, you know,
definitely.
So I can be that role model, be that, be that person that I never had growing up, that doctor, that someone I could lean on or ask for advice that was also a minority, you know what I'm saying? So like, not that I didn't have great mentors growing up, but I think there was always something missing in that component. So,
well, I mean, the two mentors you talked about that were here were both white, you know, and I mean, even if you look at like the school here, I think we only have maybe 2 professors that are.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I know one for sure. I think he was the one for a while, but there might be a second one, I guess. Case.
Yeah. So it's a crazy thing. And like you do talk about, you know, I would have never noticed it till you said it. But like, if you look around,
right. Yeah.
Like what kind of signal does that send to the youth coming up?
And another thing, like if I ask you to close your eyes and imagine this scenario right now, like I actually want you to like imagine this scenario in your head right now. So like, let's say you're a strength and conditioning coach and you want to go into this local health department and sell your voodoo floss, you know, give your little pitch for voodoo floss about why these providers should start doing it. So they agree to meet with you. You got the head of this little clinic and like 2 doctors that work there. They walk in the room, you know, they're laughing, they're smiling. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm excited for our meeting today. I want to hear what you got going on. They sit down, you shake their hand. As you're picturing this scenario, I want you to ask yourself, like, what do those physicians look like? Like, I'm not going to ask you to answer that question, but like, and that gets at this idea of implicit biases that we all have. We all have implicit biases. And so what's important is that we start to become aware of what our implicit biases are. For those who aren't aware of what implicit bias is, it's like, there's a lot of tests you can take, but basically it's like you associate more negative words with Black people and more positive words with like white people, for say, is like one of the most common implicit bias tests. And, if we're aware of it, that's awesome. But like when we're not aware of it, things can start going south really quickly. And like, there's been studies showing that like implicit biases are like starting to impact health outcomes. And so like on average, I think Black patients have like less time spent with their healthcare providers compared to like their white non-counterparts. They're less likely to be believed about their pain or prescribed like, like the best treatment, you know what I'm saying? And also like there, even in Rhode Island, we just had this thing like a couple months ago in January. There's this woman, she was a Black woman, pregnant, going in for, she had really severe stomach pain. And, the hospital, they checked her out. She seemed fine. And like, but she was like, no, my stomach is like really like excruciating. Like, you guys need to do something about it. And they kind of just didn't really do anything about it. They sent her home. She posted on Facebook that it felt like she was about to die. Like she was in such pain, and like she passed away later that day after that Facebook post. And so,
wow.
Again, talking about, you could ask yourself, may that have been different if it was a white one? I don't know, but that's like
Something
the world we live in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So how do you feel, so you talked about like the club that you go and speak at.
Mm-hmm.
Are there a lot of Black students a part of this club?
Yeah. And I think what I really love about Brown is that we're a pretty progressive school.
Yeah.
When we're looking at percentage of underrepresented students in our class, we have a pretty high percentage, like probably one of the highest in the nation, I'd say. When you go to UNMC, just based on the kids that apply to UNMC, most of them come from Nebraska. So you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, maybe, that are diverse in the class. But in our class is like 140 students. And I think we've had at least like 15 Black people, and even more so like from other minority and underrepresented students. So definitely on the move. They're always pushing for the underdogs, which is what I really love. So there's a lot more opportunities to seek out stuff like that. And so I can hopefully gain this experience in Rhode Island and bring this back with me to Nebraska someday.
So what were your top school choices? Like top 3?
Brown was definitely up there. I applied to Harvard, but I knew I wasn't going to get in there. But somehow miraculously got an interview there, so I was just happy to go. I was like, oh my god, wow. But I didn't get in there, which is fine. But it came down to Brown, Northwestern, and Case Western, which is in Ohio. All 3 amazing schools.
So what made you pick Brown?
What made me pick Brown was honestly just the vibe. Like, I knew the second I walked in, I was like, everyone here is so welcoming, so friendly. It reminded me of Nebraska, honestly. It reminded me of Hastings College. Like, it seemed just this close-knit, like the students, like current first-year students and second-year students, like they willingly volunteer their time to come to our lunch and just chat with us and like talk about, and like you could tell they like actually care about your well-being at this school. And like, I just knew, I was just like, I pray I get accepted to this school just because like this is where I belong. And so, and you feel it, like the collaboration between classmates is like, I don't feel like I'm competing against my classmates, nor should you, because like these are the people you're going to be referring your patients to someday. These are going to be your colleagues, not your competition. And so like when you go to these other schools, like sometimes you get that vibe where it's like a pretty cutthroat environment and you're just like, okay, like, I don't know. And so some people love that. Some people, I don't know, everyone's different. But for me, I needed a place where I knew I could build relationships as I move forward in my career. So
is there like one big thing, like, it doesn't have to necessarily be medical school, but like applying to school outside of undergrad where you wish you would have known more about like this or more about that, just to like make that process easier?
In terms of applying or just in general?
Just like going to another like grad school, med school, anything like that. Just one big tip that you think off the top of your head, like, man, I really wish I'd known this.
Oh yeah. How expensive this whole journey is. Like I was very fortunate to apply and receive a scholarship to help me afford all these. Because when you get invited to interview, well, first, okay, hold on, let me get on my another soapbox here. So you got to take the MCAT, right, to get into med school. So that's $300 something. So you got to take that. Most people take it twice just because they feel like they want to up their score. So let's say you want to apply to medical school, you got to fill out this application. And if you even want to apply to just one school, that's like $400, I think. And so like, wow. But then it's increases as you add more schools. It's like an extra $75, I think. And then once you send out the application, you get everything finished, the schools will send you a secondary application specific to their institution. It's like all essays and stuff. And to send that in, it's like $80, $95 on average to send in a secondary application. And then if they like you, they'll invite you for an interview, but you got to pay for your own travel to get there. So it's just like, dang. And like, there's no way I would have been able to afford that entire journey. And again, this is why you see this lack, not only why, but one of the reasons why you see this lack of diverse physicians, just because minorities tend to be lower on the socioeconomic status totem pole. Again, it's a big hurdle to overcome when you're trying to, and so again, just stuff like addressing these larger societal issues. Yeah, I think I wish I would have known that.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. But yeah.
So like, if you had to tell, you know, one kid going into undergrad, you know, who wants to be a doctor, but, you know, they're going through like the tough classes right now. Like you're, as a freshman, you remember like,
okay. Yeah.
Like one big thing, like, hey, like
you got to love it. It's a lifestyle, which is why I love Coach Wells and everything he's about, and you and Agaga now you're taking over. I love seeing you guys grow as you continue to work under him. You got to love the process. You got to love the grind. It's a field where you're never going to stop learning. There's just going to be times where you're just going to have to just strictly from will. Like, and if you don't love it, honestly, you're going to have a hard time making it, especially once you get to medical school. So got to find, I don't know. It's that it factor, you know?
So for you, like, what do you think, like your ultimate, hey, 10 years, probably you have to go through all your medical school and residency and stuff like that. 10 years, where do you want to be? What do you think you'll find yourself being successful at?
I know I want to work with kids someday. So some sort of pediatric specialty, whether that be like working with kids and adults or just kids, I'm not sure yet. Because I feel like that'll be the best way I can impact the younger minority population. I want to work in an area that's underserved or tends to be a little bit more diverse than your average city. So I can be that role model that I never had growing up. I want to be that, answer questions, go to mentoring, mingling events in the community, you know, just like help network. Like, and this is what I've been so fortunate about Brown is like I might not be a doctor yet, but like I heard this quote in a church the other day, actually. It says like, you might not be the king, but you might not have access to his riches, but like you have access to the king. And so like, we might not be doctors yet, but we have access to doctors. We have access to what they have access. And so like sending an email, you know, can take you so far in life. Like you'll never know what reaching out and like networking will do for you. And so that's why I'm glad to be a part of this extremely impressive network that comes out of Brown University. And so I can take that with me now. Like I'm part of that and I can be that, you know, resource for kids. I think that's where I see myself in 10 years. So
that's awesome, man. Is there anything last you want to say?
You can do it. Like whatever you're thinking of doing, like if I can grow up in Omaha, Nebraska and somehow find my way to Brown after playing football in college, you know what I'm saying? Like you can do it. Like don't let whatever, you know, like it doesn't matter where you come from. That's I think what I would say. It doesn't matter where you come from.
That's awesome, man. I think like your mindset and where you're going is you're really going to do incredible things and really open a lot of eyes, which is really cool. I think, you know, what you're doing, what you're saying is so true, and people don't realize it till someone actually puts it in front of their face. And I think that's what you're doing. And I think that's super cool. And I think it's something that needs to be done. And it really could change the future of what's going on around us and, you know, the world we live in. I think you're really going to open some eyes. And I think that's awesome.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you being on, man, you know, taking the time. If you get a chance to listen to this before he speaks, he'll be speaking tomorrow for biology classes. And if you just see him around campus, say hi to him, talk to him, ask him questions. I'm sure he's more than willing to answer anything for you guys.
I was gonna say, I'll put a plug in. If you want to email me or something, or you know someone who's interested in medical school or something, or I can give Hayden my email, but it's Anthony_Cloyd@brown.edu. And just get in touch with Hayden if you need something.
Perfect. So. Or shoot him an email. He'll be more than willing to answer. This is an amazing guy, man. I've known him for over 4 years now, and he's done incredible things since I've known him. So Again, Cloyd, I appreciate you being on. It was a real last minute thing, just coming through, and I just think you have an incredible story, man. You're going to do amazing things. So again, thank you very much.
My pleasure. But yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, bro.